10-minute tidbits. I appreciate all the feedback on episode one. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I am a boomer and I am not technologically sound. So thank you, YouTube, for creating this outlet for me. Today we have my man Karel from Stand Strength, and we are going to talk power building. So, Karel, tell me, what is your definition of power building? And you could give a brief description of how you define it.
For sure, yeah. It's very easy for me to just say power building is um, bodybuilding, but you don't have to be lean. But in all honesty, the way I describe power building is more so that I just really, really love the squat, bench, deadlift. I want to get good at the squat, bench, and deadlift, and I want to be as jacked and aesthetic as possible. I firmly believe that when it comes to people getting into the gym, people getting into training, what they should do, quite honestly, is just pack on as much muscle as possible. And there's no reason for me to think that the squat, bench, deadlift, and of course the other barbell lifts and weighted calisthenics movements can't do that in spades. So power building, it's some people will say like, well, why not just be a power lifter? Why not just be a bodybuilder? And the way I look at it, and the reason why I still use the power building term is because when people try to be too much of one thing or the other, they forget that both of these groups of people use both size and strength. So I just kind of exist to fill that gap and remind people, like, hey, like if you're a bodybuilder, you got to get stronger. If you are a power lifter, you better be doing some work to get your muscles bigger and so you can push heavier weights. Um, so that to me is my definition or my perspective on power building. It's bodybuilding with an obsession on the squat, bench, and deadlift.
That makes a lot of sense, and I like to hear that definition because I think a lot of us, you know, I've always thought of power building, and it's probably saying the same thing but in different words of like doing your squat, bench, and deadlift, and then just not neglecting the accessories afterwards.
Hmm.
Um, and perhaps maybe even since you're not necessarily looking to compete in powerlifting, maybe you never really focus on your one rep maxes in the squat, bench, and deadlift as much as you enjoy them. Perhaps maybe you use those more for hypertrophy as well. Um, but again, with social media and the internet, things get watered down, and my definition of something and your definition of something and somebody else's definition of the same thing could all be different, or it could all
Hmm.
be very much similar, which it is very much similar. You
Yeah.
just you're saying it a different way or applying it in a slightly different reason. So, and I agree big time. Packing on muscle. Everybody, your first few years in the gym, whether you want to be jacked as your ultimate goal or you want to be as strong as possible as your ultimate goal, your first few years should be with a focus on packing on muscle for both of those extremes and anywhere in between. Um,
Definitely.
that leads me to my next question. So you kind of answered it a little bit with your definition, but why power building? Like why for you? Why not powerlifting with maybe like a major in powerlifting and a minor in bodybuilding, or why not a major in bodybuilding with a minor in powerlifting? Why kind of splitting the middle of it?
Right. Yeah. Way I kind of look at it is, so I'm also involved in like martial arts. I train boxing, I train judo, things of that nature. Right. And something that I guess no one really asks an MMA fighter this. No one ever says like, "Hey, how come you do MMA? Like, you're not the best striker, and you're not the best at grappling. Why choose MMA?" It's like, well, motherfucker, I get to be good at both. Sorry for cursing, but like obviously, when you are choosing to be good at two things, you sacrifice being the best at either one. But
Right.
the advantage of that is I get to be two things now. And with the conversations I've had with other people, they'll kind of say like, well, because power building has no definition and things of that nature. And these people have these conversations with like we have nothing but respect for one another and we respect each other's perspective. So there's no the disagreement is very like surface level at best, right? And it's not as strict as, let's say, what is a man, what is a woman. It's like, well, we kind of arbitrarily decided that in bodybuilding we value these things, in powerlifting we value these things. It could have very well been that instead of a one rep max, why not do it for two? Isn't that a better show of strength if you can do it twice? It's just like, no, we said no, the ultimate one is just one rep. So arbitrary definitions, kind of thing like that. So that's part of it. And the reason why I prefer power building is quite simply, if I trained in any other type of way, I lost my mind just of how bored I was. Like the So I do plan on optimizing my training for powerlifting. I do plan on doing a meet actually. I'm currently
Oh,
cutting down to
awesome.
two. Yeah, I'm cutting down to 242 because I want to compete at the 242 weight class. So that is something I want to do. And I know I'm going to have to optimize my strength training the kind of way that you do. I remember you talking about how you're cutting your cardio down slightly just to make it slightly more optimal for um, powerlifting. And I fully recognize that I'm going to have to do that at some point. But when it comes to the majority of my training, the way I like to train, the way I want to train throughout the yearly cycle, it's very much going to be in between. I'm never going to take the squat, bench, and deadlift out. I'm never going to take weighted pull-ups out. I'm never going to take any of these exercises out because I'm in a different phase of training, or that, or even if it comes to my attention that a certain lift has a better stimulus to fatigue ratio. In fact, there are lifts in my training program right now that very clearly have a better stimulus to fatigue ratio, and I just keep them as accessories. I keep them as supplementary lifts. I never make them replace the main lift just because I love the main lift so much. It's more to me about loving training than simply only thinking to myself like, "Oh, is this the most optimal thing to do in the world?" I feel like there's just some better things you can do with your decision making.
I agree 1,000% there, and doing it in a way that you enjoy doing it and love doing it is going to lead you to training harder, training more consistently, training for a longer amount of time, and ultimately, it's probably going to lead you to a higher ceiling anyway. Because if you're just training optimal all the time because it's optimal, bro, but you
Hmm.
think it's boring, you're going to burn yourself out, and you're probably going to quit. Now, there's
Hmm.
going to be the rare again, my first guest, Sam Sheethar, he would be that optimal dude that could just do that and not enjoy it just because he would enjoy the results. I could
Yeah.
see him, but he is that needle in a haystack. He's a one of a kind person. I don't suggest that as a strategy for 99.9% of the rest of us.
Mhm. But it's freaking awesome to see like everything he's accomplished, and I love talking with him. Like it's so cool. And one thing I will say, like to kind of like build up on that is, I really appreciated working with him and like talking with him, watching all of his content. Like I binged a couple different people's content, but something that kind of happened was just I kind of, I guess, woke up to myself. I guess it's. I feel like somewhere along the way, people get caught up in what's best, what's optimal, and all these other things, and it's there is something that kind of clicked inside me where I just thought to myself, when did I ever really care about that? Like, when did that actually
Right.
become a thing? Like, I thought, so I originally started training with a more conjugate S concurrent style training program, like very similar to like Alex Leonidas, and, love your podcast with him. Like, that was my style of training because I just thought, like, that sounds freaking cool. And at the time, like, because of I wasn't really aware of you at that time. And my perception of linear periodization and linear progression was starting strength. I was like, hey, this just sounds way more fun. I get to do like I still get to do my squat, benches, and deadlifts. I get to train it heavy, and then I get to go on these like other machines that are that I like, and then just shove a shit ton of volume on it. So when I watched Sam, I just realized, when did only being optimal ever matter to me? And then I realized it didn't. The most important thing to me was just the fact that I love training, and like trying to getting back into that mindset, never sacrificing anything for my training anymore is like been very liberating. Yes, sir. We are live.
Didn't want
So I
to interrupt
see,
you. I just wanted to. I saw some comments going across there, so.
yeah, and I see Davin's in here too. So shout out to him.
So I want to ask you then, what does give me a typical upper body day in a typical power building split for you?
Yeah, sure. So, the way I program, I still borrow like some terminology from the conjugate like background. So I have my main lift, then I do an antagonist lift, so a pull, and then like a supplementary lift as my like three biggest exercises. So let's say for an upper body day, bench press, I do anywhere between 3 to 5 sets. Then I do an antagonist motion. Before it used to be rows because I was just like, well, it's the mirror movement of a bench press. But then watch a Sam Sheether video, and he kind of pointed out a great point where it's that when it comes to the bench press, you're more so looking for scapular depression rather than just only retraction. So I was like, oh, pull ups make a great amount of sense. And I just found that worked way better on my shoulders. So bench press, pull ups, and then I do a secondary pressing motion. So that could be anything from incline bench, overhead press, dumbbell bench pressing, things of that nature. And then what I do now is I train triceps on every upper body day. I just think it's super important that you train triceps, but I will have if you are in an upper lower, you have two upper days. So one of them will be more chest focused, so chest and triceps, and then another one will be more delt focused, so delts and triceps. So on my chest and tricep day, I do the pec deck. Like I like doing pec deck. It's just easy, simple. I feel like when it comes to dumbbell exercises, I do kind of get into the mindset like, am I doing this right? Like, but when it comes to a machine, I'm just like, fuck it, like it's there for me.
Yeah,
I just need
yeah, I
to
feel you,
follow
man.
through. Yeah.
Right.
So I don't have to think about it nearly as much. So I'm just like, cool. Hard work is like all I need to focus on. So I do chest, pec deck, and reverse flies, and then I do tricep work on my shoulders. And hey, based on bodybuilding the chat, on
What's up,
my
man?
second upper body day where it's more delts and tricep based, that's when I will typically have maybe even a third press, like dumbbell overhead press or something of that nature. Uh, and there's like a lot more raises, so front raises, side raises, rear delt raises, and then like way more tricep work. So um, that's a typical upper day for a power builder.
That's not. I'm not a power builder, but that's not far off my upper body day.
Exactly.
Like right now, except I do both my press variations back to back, and then I do pull ups.
Mm,
And then my accessory work is very much tricep dominant. I have unironically just started doing pec deck for the first time ever. I've been using it though more as a speed implement and doing like
mm.
3 reps as fast as I can and just trying to generate force. But it's something I'm looking towards after this. I'm actually in meat prep, so after this meet, maybe using it more for hypertrophy. Yeah, we're going over 10 minutes. Give me a lower body day.
A lower body day, so very similar. Squat, like, so one day is going to be mainly a squat day, one day is going to be mainly a deadlift day. So on the
Yep.
main squat day, you have squat, hinge, and row. Like I put horizontal pulls on my lower body days just because for me, lower body just means posterior chain. In my
Oh, yeah.
opinion,
Okay.
yep, in my opinions, like I heard this from I think Brian Alsrew, and I just like kind of stuck by it ever since. In my opinion, squats are a core exercise. Like if like many people can like leg press 4 plates, 5 plates, 6 plates, but they can't squat like nearly as much because their core just isn't strong enough. And I find free weight barbell movements, so squats, deadlifts, rows, in addition to directed isolation work. I'm a really big fan of standing cable crunches. That's a really big staple of my training right now. I find that to be very useful. So let's say on a squat day, I do squats, either RDL, stiff leg deadlifts, or good mornings, then a barbell row variation, then straight into 3 to 4 sets of 20 to 30 reps of a standing cable curl or cable crunch, and then just bodybuilding leg accessories. So right now, I kind of prefer leg extensions, hamstring curls, things of that nature. If I were to do like, let's say, a leg press or hack squat, I would honestly just go back on the barbell and just do more reps with a lighter weight, maybe with a closer stance or something of that nature, just because squats are my worst lift. And I just feel like I would benefit more so from practice than I would just from, haphazard volume on a machine I'm not getting the most out of because I can't put my best foot into it. And then on the deadlift day, very similar. I actually still start my deadlift days with squats, but I do front squats. So front squats, deadlift, rows, then crunches again, and then I still run through the same bodybuilding work for my lower body. Hip abductions are a big thing for that. So those are my lower body days.
We train extremely similarly. I do front squats, which right now I'm doing. I moved it to back squats before my deadlifts too, just because meat specificity. But typically, I do front squats before my deadlift days. Hip abduction, where we train an awful lot to have two different definitions of our training styles. It's pretty similar. So that's pretty great. So that's power building from Karel. Sounds a lot like powerlifting to me, but we'll let him call it
Yeah,
power building. So I've got a few questions. We're going to do the lightning round like we did with Sam.
for
Um,
sure.
why Prius?
Why a Prius?
Why
Because
Prius?
gas is too damn high. Like, man, like I bought a car because I was just like thinking to myself, like, I don't even drive that much. My work is like 5 minutes away if I drive. And then like my life changes. I'm driving all over the place and I'm like spending like I'm gassing up every week and I'm just like, shit, this sucks. So like there's that, right? And I don't know who did it. I don't know who broke Toyota's heart, but they have done a lot to make their cars look more modern, more sleek, like, and they just like looking a lot better. So I'm just like, like those are some sexy cars. So uh, for the gas
I'm with
mileage,
you.
they just look
Like
better.
the new Priuses, the new Camrys, the new Corollas, they all
Hmm.
look fire. What do you currently drive? Because now I'm intrigued.
I drive a 2012 Honda CRV. Yeah, so it's
Honda
not
CRV.
horrible, but
Right,
like I
right.
mean,
Yeah. But
like
but
30
but a
miles to the
Prius is
gallon.
on next level. Yeah, I feel you.
Exactly.
I like CRVs too, though. Those are sweet.
Yeah,
Um,
I can actually fit in my car now. Like I'm surprised you still drive a Civic because I was having trouble at a certain point.
well, I had two Civics. I sold one, and the other one's blown up, which is unusual to hear from a Honda. But it had 324,000 miles on it. So,
Hmm.
uh, but anyway, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
I've come around to it. I
You've
used
come around
to,
to
yeah,
it.
I used to go on crusades against people who put it on.
Oh wow!
Um, yeah, I used to be very much against it, but I've learned to chill out, be more tolerant, and actually, appreciate it from time to time.
So I don't know if you know, I'm a sweet and savory junkie. Like I love the
Mm.
combination. And with pizzas, I have made homemade pizzas with bananas on it. I've used
Oh man.
strawberries on it. I've used grape jelly. Like I just the sweet and savory contrast fascinates me, and I'm not afraid to try off the wall shit. So like pineapple on pizza is super mild to me. Like that's just sticking the tip in, if you will. Uh,
I will say,
uh,
like, I did something very interesting. I don't know, like, if there's a Whole Foods around you, but Whole Foods has this spicy Korean fried chicken. I put it, and then I get like broccoli from the salad section, and then I put pineapple on top of that.
Yeah,
That's a
see, I would
really good
fuck with that
combination.
hardcore. Yeah, that
Like,
sounds
that
good.
was so good to me. So, Whole
I'm in East
Foods, put
Tennessee
that shit
though, so
out.
we definitely don't have a Whole Foods around here. Uh,
Rough.
I'm gonna judge you for this answer. What is your favorite movie in the Fast and Furious franchise?
Uh, what's the one where they're in Brazil? Like, where
Okay,
the
so that's a no for me, dog. That one's not the worst though. That one's not the worst. I'll give you. I forget if that one's. I think that one Fast Five maybe, or the one
I
right
think
before
so.
that.
I just thought I was just in shock how they could like make that possible. Like I was just more like just a safe going around. I was like, how did they even do that? Like that's more so like a thing. Like I don't remember anything else about that movie except that. The other
So
one was gonna be Tokyo Drift, but
the only two acceptable answers. Tokyo Drift is the best one by far and away.
mhm.
Anybody who is a car guy will almost unanimously agree with that. And then I will give a pass for liking the OG, the first one. So
Mhm.
either of those two answers are acceptable, but
But I
anything else,
just gave
so
you
I am
like
judging you
Brazil.
harshly. Um, I had one, and I thought this was going to be a super juicy question, but after getting your definition and how you train, I don't think this is going to be as juicy anymore. And I think I know the answer. But if you, the power builder, were given these two options, so this goes for upper and lower body, you
Mhm.
could either do an unlimited choice of compound movements with a barbell, but only three accessories for either upper or lower body for the rest of your life, or you could only do one compound movement with a barbell, one for upper, one for lower for the rest of your life, but an unlimited number of accessories, isolation
Mm.
movements. Which would you pick?
Yeah, if there was someone who was more of a bodybuilding power builder, we definitely have a
Yeah, yeah,
harder
yeah.
time.
I had that
But
one written down. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be awesome." Power builder, make him decide between which world he likes better. But then after talking to you, it's like, "Oh, he trains kind of a lot like a power lifter with barbells and shit." So,
true. So yeah, I would definitely choose the barbell. Like I have tried, like my gym has some like really good machines in it. Like they have like a good Viking press machine. They have like a lot of different stuff. Like the gym I train at is owned by Stan Efferding, so
oh, nice.
he's done a lot to like put good machines in that gym. But even then, I'm still just going over to the like free weight section to do all my stuff. I still do standing barbell presses. As much propaganda as there is saying that it's not as good, it's just like, hey, I'm gonna put time in it and show that it's like like it's like comparing oranges to slightly smaller oranges. It's like
Right.
it's really good stuff.
Okay. One last one before we wrap it up here. Who's the best martial artist of our lifetime?
Of our lifetime,
Yep.
I'm gonna say GSP. I think GSP
GSP.
is because martial artist is a very
I
I
had
take
him and Demetrius Johnson in the back of my head. I felt like you were going to
that
pick one
was
of those
good.
two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's really good too. The reason why I choose GSP is because, like, for one, he not only is he a very accomplished fighter, which is, like, in my opinion, a little different, because like
Right.
fighter, you win
I agree.
fights,
I
so that,
agree.
right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
GSP, martial artist, super respectful. Like, like he still like showed up in like his uniform for so many years, bowing all the time, everything like that. He was absolutely dog shit at trash talking, and I was just like, nice. It was just all he did was like go in there and like do what he had to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good answer. Like I said, I was thinking either him or DJ.
Hmm.
So, is there anything you want to plug? Your channel, your coaching, your Instagram, anything you'd like to say before we get out of here?
For sure. There is no natural limit. Do your best, or at least what you can. Keep trying hard. Start where you stand. My name is Karel King, standstrength.com. I'm an online coach, and I would definitely am very grateful for the time you've given me here today.
I appreciate you coming here and joining me. I will leave links in the description where you can get in contact with Karel. Thanks again. You guys look forward to another episode. I'm going to have more of these coming out as I get more people on here. Peace.